In the scorching afternoon heat of their dusty courtyard, Dai Bain and her 6 daughters' growing inconvenience is visible. Despite the raging heat, they have avoided drinking water for hours now. They last went to relieve themselves 12 hours ago, but it's not yet dark enough to venture out onto the railway track. For generations, most of the 90-odd families that lived in the Indiranagar slum of Ahmedabad lived without toilets. They have grown up used to holding their bladders and bowels, being stalked by young men, and during the rainy season, watching out for deadly insects and pests. As if this wasn't enough, since last year, Dai Bain has been gripped with a new problem.
અમારે સાહેબ બહુ વર્ષથી અમે હેરાનગતિ ભોગવતા હતા, પણ અત્યારની વહુઓ અને છોડી છોકરાઓ જવાન થઈ ગયા, એ લોકો આવું બેઠી નથી શકતા. જ્યારે તે વહુ સંડાસ કરવા ગઈ ત્યારે ઝાડાના પાછળ આદમી સંતાઈ રહ્યો. તે આદમીને વહુએ પથ્થર મારીને આદમીનું ફોડી નાખ્યું ને મોટી બબાલ થઈ. ત્યારે છોકરાને કીધું કે મારે તો આ ઘરે રહેવું જ નથી, સંડાસ નથી, મારે રહેવાની જરૂર નથી, પિયર જતી રહી.
Living in a slum called Indiranagar in Ahmedabad close to the railway station, Dai Bain wakes up every morning to anxiety over the trek she and her daughter must take into the open carrying water cans to answer nature's call. They could use the community toilet nearby, but it's remained non-functional for as long as they can remember. And it's simply easier to head into the open, despite the daily trauma. While the impact of non-availability of a toilet is same on men and women, its consequences are far worse for women. Apart from the increased risk on women who do not have access to adequate toilets since they are vulnerable to shame and potential violence when they seek a place to defecate, but they also face severe health problems such as urinary tract infections, kidney and bladder malfunctions due to prolonged urine retention periods.
અમે સંડાસ કરવા જતા હતા ને તો ઝાડવા નીચે ને આદમી ઘૂસી ઘૂસીને પથરા મારતા હતા અમને.
हम यहाँ पे 40 साल से रहते. 40 साल से हमको बहुत पहले तकलीफ थी, यानी पानी की, हर बात की, हर चीज़ की तकलीफ थी. कोई जात की सहायता नहीं थी. टॉयलेट के लिए हम बाहर जाते थे, पानी भरना हम बाहर जाते थे.
Grappling with these issues are not just these 2 women, but the entire population of Indiranagar and a few other slum settlements of Ahmedabad. The Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation has been a forerunner in providing services to slums since decades through its slum networking program and the 500 NOC scheme. However, to expedite provision of services to slums in peri-urban areas and newly merged areas, the Ahmedabad Sanitation Action Lab program, or the ASAL program with AMC, decided to step in. With support from the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, and led by the Urban Management Center, and with community partners Mahila Housing Trust and Chetna, ASAL selected 7 pilot slums.
Under the ASAL program, UMC worked in 7 communities of Ahmedabad city. Now, Ahmedabad has been at the forefront of providing services to urban poor since many years. However, there were some communities in peri-urban areas which were left out. So AMC had suggested, why don't we work with those? With our community partners, we identified those slums and we worked with those communities on behavior change.
Chetna has been working with the Ahmedabad Sanitation Action Lab, ASAL, which is anchored at UMC, the Urban Management Center, for some time now, working with adolescent girls in 7 slums and 14 schools. What we have been teaching them through very innovative health education material is about personal hygiene, hygiene in the home, and hygiene in communities. This has really helped because of the interactive methods that have been developed as a kit. This has really helped the children to assimilate the knowledge.
A granular house-level survey and mapping was done to identify the issues. This helped in identifying key issues in each settlement. While some had toilets, They had common pits, which would quickly fill up and hence residents would resort to defecation in the open, while another settlement did not have toilets at all. Lack of household level water supply connections also was a deterrent to use of toilets. The mapping and household survey helped create a specific settlement level action plan. The MHT took the lead in filling 500 NOC forms for the households and tediously following up on each step for bringing in sewer connections and water supply.
While all the 7 slums did not have any sewer connections when we began ASAL 3 years back, about 4 of them did not have any water supply connections. But still, if we talk about the access to individual toilets, it was a mix and it was a range of things that we realized. There were some households which had only the superstructure, there was nothing below. So they had toilets which were constructed under some previous programs and schemes. Some had toilets connected to a soak pit, but which was a very shallow soak pit and hence again which was not being used. And in a few settlements we realized that there were toilets which were connected to shared soak pits. Because there was a fear that the soak pit would get filled, again households did not use toilets and then they continued to defecate in the open. And hence we could create a settlement by settlement, a specific action plan, and we could decide what to do.
AMC, through its process of laying sewer and water lines, began extending its network to these areas as well. Along with infrastructural provision, the component of behavior change and ensuring that households continue using the toilets was crucial.
After having made these slum-specific action plans, with the help of Mahila Housing Trust, our community partner, we were able to expedite the process of laying sewer lines or the process of laying water supply lines to these slums, and hence the whole process got expedited. If I'm to take a case of, say, Indira Nagar in Sarkhej, you can see a jump in the sewer connections. There was just no sewerage there, and around 80% of the households today have sewer connections. So there's a big jump which will lead to the households using the toilet ultimately. And similarly, you also see an increase in the connections to individual water supply connections as well. And hence this will also further our cause of ensuring that this settlement becomes free of open defecation and continues to be so.
The primary objective for the formation of community-based organizations or CBOs was to create a community engagement platform to support WASH-related activities. The leaders of each CBO took up the task of spreading the core message of ASAL, including WASH practices, using toilets by everyone, menstrual hygiene management, and then encouraging their peers to do the same. Similar to the sanitation clubs formed in schools, adolescent youth groups were formed in these settlements. For engagement with the community and communicating the messages of sanitation in slums, there was a series of training sessions for CBO members and Vikasinis. Posters with graphics and visual aids were developed. The adolescent group celebrated days like the World Toilet Day or Hand Washing Day. Several games were designed to engage with kids and adolescents of these slums. The street play Jeevli Jeevi Gai was specifically scripted and enacted to communicate the key message of using toilets and the impacts of open defecation on public health. The play is a musical in the style of Gujarati folk theatre. It begins with a song where the people are talking about a tumbler, generally used to carry water for ablution after defecating.
The work of ASAL has been very well recognized through their efforts to support the urban development department in the state, as well as the work on the sanitation ranking in the city as well as the state. And its work in the city of Ahmedabad has not only opened up avenues for other cities to see what ASAL has done for the WASH sector in schools and in slums, but also allowed them to scale that up in their own innovative manner.
So all these are learnings on how cities can give services in such a kind of a jigsaw patchwork kind of a situation, and this is something that many cities in India will be facing, because we have certain areas, certain islands in all of our cities, and how can we then link up all these islands to the city's infrastructure is something that was an interesting learning under ASAL.
જેના ઘરે સંડાસ નથી હોતા તેમને અમે કહીએ છીએ કે તમે ઇન્દિરાનગરમાં આવો, સર્વેને સંડાસ થઈ ગયા છે, કોઈને બાકી નથી.
स्वच्छता की जोत लेकर घर घर जाएंगे, साफ सुथरी रोशनी